of doing research in this area of entrepreneurship. My time in the universities of technology, we are supposed to be producing technologists. And the question I asked is, how can we in higher education contribute to establish an ecosystem? How do we develop a system? Entrepreneurship is not magic. It's not mystical. It's about developing a system around you, an ecosystem. And an ecosystem is about how we interact with each other, what we give to the environment and what the environment gives back to us. What do we do with this? This is there, it's in front of us. We don't know what to do with it. The other question that plagued me also was, can entrepreneurship actually be taught? And the answer is yes. But in all of this, the question that really plagued me were, what were these things that were preventing us as higher education from developing an entrepreneurial ecosystem? Why is it that we could not engage with industry? Why is it that we want to distance ourselves from government? Why did we want to declare our independence from them rather than say, let's work together? Yes, we may differ philosophically and politically from many people, but it does not mean we should work with them and inform them of new findings, of new research, of new understandings of what is happening. I myself am a BBT, by that I mean born before technology, but I had to learn how to use technology. And lots of us are BCs here, that is born, not born before Christ, but born before computers. But that didn't preclude us from using a computer. So lots of things can be learned. These are new innovations. Someone created them, we learn how to use them, we buy all of this equipment, but we don't know how to teach it. We don't know what to do with it when it's finished. We don't know how to recycle it. We don't know how to innovate. Is it because we don't want to? Or what are these roadblocks to higher education becoming a viable system, a viable cog in this wheel of entrepreneurship? And are we then, as higher education, going to go out of business? Because if we can't create those entrepreneurs, and if we can't create job creators, and we're still in the business of creating job seekers, very soon it's going to question, should we actually send them to university? Are universities going to be of any value to us? Because we send them there, they get their degrees, it's a big occasion to go to graduation and get the cap. But then, he becomes an economic burden, or she so many myths, and I'm sure you will agree with me, just from your own experience. There are huge myths about entrepreneurship. Some people feel that there's a formula, you have to have this, plus this, and then you get that. And lots of people plus G over BC equals E. Doesn't work like that. Okay? You don't have to take 2 bottles, shake them, and you'll get an entrepreneur. It doesn't work like that. You don't have to plus a garage incubated idea and a powerful venture capitalist putting money into it, maybe they're the latest entrepreneur. It does work like that. That's a myth. Entrepreneur is 20. That's not true. We've all eaten KFC, I gather. KFC is all over the world. He only became an entrepreneur at age 60, and he sold his shares at age 70. South Africa, who became an entrepreneur. If you look at some of the major entrepreneurs, the Oracle people. And so you don't have to be 20 to be an entrepreneur. You can be any age. As long as you have a good business, what do you do? Do not be afraid. That is the big issue. The second myth, entrepreneurs are like top athletes. They are born, they are not made. Not true. Here's an example of one that I think there's several others that we know. In fact, most of the entrepreneurs we researched in South Africa and on the continent actually came from families where there was no business. They didn't do. This is a myth that we must explore. So don't believe that because you're at the university now, you should just carry on doing what you're doing, and you tell them that you set yourself up. That's not true. The third one, college dropouts make better entrepreneurs, and I think it's because of Facebook. Those are just one or two of these people. became dropouts and were successful. The majority of them can't cut it in the entrepreneurial world. That's not true. One just has to go to the rural areas to see how women have made it. Many women on the continent are responsible for some of the major, biggest entrepreneurs. Many women have sent their children to school, and I know in South Africa, many of them, through doing all kinds of side businesses, have ended up making those professors and making those other people. I think it's attitudes of society that prevents women from getting into the field. Many of them are really good at their jobs, and those who are entrepreneurs have been extremely successful. But many of them have been kept back because of public opinion, or because of, you can't do this, there's no space for you, don't do this. And so I think that's the other area that we need to look at. Because if you look at how women do at universities, the majority of women in South African universities who pass their first degree are women, not men. A large numbers of women are now doing their masters and PhDs. So that's not true that they don't have capability, they do. And the other myth is that venture capital is a prerequisite for innovation. That's absolutely not true. In fact, it's the opposite. The venture capitalists chase the entrepreneurs. When they see a good idea, they only put their money into a project where they see a good idea. So that's not true as well. And I think that's very important that we understand that. The other roadblock to why we cannot create an ecosystem is the stereotypes, mindsets. And parents have a lot of these mindsets. And we need to change this mindset about my son has to go to university and not to TVET college because of status. And we need to explode this from our minds, from our thinking, from our teaching, and from our adverts. And I think government has a very big role to play here. It needs to say that we need these artisans, and these are the people who are going to be absorbed into the job market, and see how quickly we'll get that change in attitude. So there's a great belief that that certain qualifications are less important than others. That's not true. So the TVET qualifications are very important qualifications. However, within the TVET qualifications, we need to look at what we teach in those qualifications. And I heard my colleague here just now say that we tend to teach entrepreneurship rather than let the student experience entrepreneurship. And it is very important to experience it. And how do we experience it? We can only experience it. And I'm going to race through this because I think lots of what is said on these slides have already been discussed. What we need to understand is that education is the weakest link because we use a one-size-fits-all approach. You cannot do that. You cannot copy what someone else in China is doing. It has to be contextualized. You have to make sure that whatever you do, that the curriculum is relevant to the context in which we live. And that isn't happening. We tend to be looking at what the North is doing or what the East is doing, copying it, and it doesn't work because the environment is so different. And in South Africa in particular, coming out of apartheid, our context is very different. Our landscape is different. Our challenges are different. And we can't impose the Korean model in South Africa. Our it quite differently. Also, we have a huge rural community that we need to look at as well and revitalize our rural economy. And the way to revitalize the rural community migrates to cities and we increase the number of slums rather than decrease the slum areas. And that is because there are no jobs in the cities. So we need to really look at what we teach, how we teach, and articulate many of our artisans into business, into higher education as well, so that they can be able to innovate. The other roadblock is business. There's a lot of competition. And the business world is a frightening world to be in. And it is not very encouraging. It does not There's always a stigma to failure. Business doesn't reward failure. In fact, it's very unrewarding. How did you do that dip? And now suddenly Ireland has come up because they've changed how they see entrepreneurship. They've given young people with great ideas the opportunity to develop those ideas into their people back into the country. And so lots of Irish people who have migrated to various parts of the world because there were no jobs in Ireland or back in the country because of the number of entrepreneurial activities that they are engaged in. And some of those are, for example, the waste sector. They've been doing amazingly well. So has China and India developed downstream activities I've never seen happen before anywhere else in the world. So this is an amazing thing. Also, there are several hindrances in business that prevents people from becoming entrepreneurs. And that's a big roadblock. It's all the regulations, who can earn money, can I get a bank loan, why can't I get a bank loan? Those are things that we need to negotiate. So higher education needs to get out there and lead this charge, lead the campaign to ensure that industry, that the banking sector, that all of those sectors and government policy changes to support entrepreneurship. Nothing is going to change. We can teach all we like, but nothing is going to change until those onerous regulatory environments change. So that is something that we in higher education can do. Because entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, can't afford to get a consultant to come and teach or to assist them with their banking or their books or new ideas of converting an idea into some new technology. It's very difficult for them to do that. They can't afford it. And sometimes they have to fill in numerous pages and pages and pages in order to get their companies registered. So we need to look at that. Government needs to take cognizance of that and ensure that they do the right thing so that we could get that. It's fine for government to stand up on a podium and say, we need more entrepreneurs. Come on, you TVET people, give us those entrepreneurs. What is government doing? You can put money into it, but are you engaging with the people who will help us to ensure that we can get out there and make sure that those entrepreneurs are successful? Now, several people have looked at various domains. What do we need? Some people have 9, some people say they're 5. But in South Africa, for now, we believe that there are 4 important agencies that can form the pillars of what we call an entrepreneurial ecosystem. And that is higher education, because it includes the TVET sector, government, business and the private sector, and of course the community. Without that solid foundation, there's no chance of us ever developing an entrepreneurial ecosystem. We have to work together. We have to ensure that all of us are contributing to ensure that we make sure that we have these entrepreneurs who can then create businesses, who can create job opportunities. Of course, not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur, but those entrepreneurs will certainly be responsible. So higher education has a very important role to play in this. You can be catalytic, you can be supportive, you can produce knowledge, and most importantly, right now, we have to be reflective. We have to look at what we teach, how we teach it as well. It's very important. Bring in industry specialists. And what the SATN has decided to do this year is to set up a database of all of the entrepreneurs in the country. So we've got a database of all of these powerful entrepreneurs, young, old entrepreneurs who have made it big in the country. Research. So it's a win-win for both. And this is what we are doing right now. Government also has to start to look at how their policies are being developed. So we're saying to the bankers, we will shape it the way the local communities have. Shape it as a relevant body. Make sure that you have policies that support the entrepreneur. And of course, the business sector, that by start making them feel guilty, saying to them, that's going to pay back. And recently we had a lot of campaigns And so one of our universities of technology partnered with the Department of Environmental Affairs, in partnership with the University of Technology, together with Samsung, Mitsubishi, and Toshiba. Toshiba will buy back the product from the university after it's dismantled to be recycled and made into computers again. But also to set up downstream activities like metal extraction. Did you know that in your on-off switch, did you know that in 1 ton, there's more gold in 1 ton of e-waste than there is in a ton of ore coming out of the ground? Especially in the East, are buying all this. We sell it back to them rather than dismantling our country and create downstream activities. There are several downstream activities that can take place, and so this is what the universities of technology in South Africa have decided to do. And of course, the community. We have universities in particular have ignored communities. We have kept communities far away from us. Bringing communities into the university will change the mindsets of people. We want the communities, and especially the parents of students, to realize that your child doesn't have to have a PhD to be someone. He can get a TVET qualification, become an entrepreneur, and probably earn more than a PhD teaches at the university. And I think we can all of us with PhDs will tell you, it's easier to be in business, there's more money in business than there is in higher education. So we should be encouraging our children to do that. And I think that the community will play a very, very important role. So, in conclusion, I want to say to you that it is evident that higher education is the key link. How we teach, what we teach, with whom we teach, is of critical importance if we want to create entrepreneurs. It's not going to happen by itself. It will never happen by itself. So we have got to be the catalysts. We have to be the persons who are going to campaign for this. And not only campaign with our communities, but act as an advocacy group to go to our governments and say to our governments, this is the kind of support universities and TVET colleges, and particularly in South Africa, we have one group from TVET all the way through to higher education, do it together. And with that note, in closing, I want to say that whilst we may say that governments must lead and higher education must lead, we can't dream for anybody. We've got to allow it to happen by itself. We can give everyone the opportunity, but Africa has to do it for itself. And I think we have the capacity, we have the will, we have lots of courage. And I think together on the continent, we can do it together. I want to, in closing, also invite you to South Africa in October this year, when the Universities of Technology will host its annual conference, international conference, entitled Partnerships for Innovation, Making It Happen, Making It Matter. And I'd like to show you, in that regard, an official invitation from the VCs, if I may be indulged to check. And it will also give you insight into some of the things we do at the universities. In Cape Town, right down south, so it'll give you a picture of where you are invited to come. And please, I left early bird registration forms with Dr. Wilson, and I've also left some information, but you are welcome to take a copy of this verbal invitation that is going to be shown to you now, so you know what you're in for. We have speakers from around the world, from Korea, from India, the US, Sweden, and of course, we want most of the speakers to be from Africa, so there are various panels. And I invite you to submit papers, and if not papers,